A long time ago, in a small and peaceful village surrounded by mountains and rice fields, lived an old farmer named Haru. Every morning, before the sun rose, Haru would walk to the river with a bamboo staff on his shoulder, from which hung 2 buckets. One new and shiny, the other old, cracked and covered with the scars of time. Every day, Haru would fill both buckets with fresh water and begin the journey back. The new bucket always returned full, while the broken one lost much of its contents before reaching the house. Despite this, Haru never replaced it. The neighbors often wondered why he continued to use that bucket, which could barely fulfill its function. Some even offered to give him a new one, but Haru would always smile and shake his head. One morning, as the sun began to peek over the rice fields, the broken bucket, tired and filled with shame, decided to speak. "Master Haru," it said in a trembling voice, "every day I waste the water you give me. I am useless. Why do you keep carrying me?" Haru stopped, looked at the cracked bucket with tenderness, and replied, "Haven't you noticed the flowers that grow only on your side of the path?" The broken bucket fell silent. It had never paid attention to its surroundings, too busy lamenting its cracks and its inability to hold the water. It looked toward the edge of the path and, for the first time, noticed something extraordinary. A trail of wildflowers followed it all the way from the river to the house. Those flowers, Haru continued with a serene smile, don't grow on the side of the new bucket. Every day, while you dripped, you unknowingly watered the seeds I planted long ago. Thanks to you, every morning I gather fresh flowers for my wife's altar, and every afternoon, the children of the village pick bouquets to take home. The broken bucket trembled, not from the weight of the water, but from an emotion it had never known: gratitude. "You don't fail," Haru said, his voice soft like the wind through the bamboo. "You simply serve a different purpose, one that no one sees, but that beautifies the world in silence." From that day on, the broken bucket stopped crying over its cracks. It no longer felt ashamed of the water it let escape, because it understood that in every drop spilled there was a silent offering, an opportunity to bloom. As it walked alongside Haru, it no longer looked down with sorrow, but instead marveled at the small garden it had unknowingly created. Daisies, wild lilies, bluebells. It was as if nature itself had whispered to it that its imperfection was part of the balance. The new bucket, upon hearing the story, felt for the first time a curious discomfort. It had always been admired for its perfection, for its ability to fulfill expectations. Yet it had never caused beauty along the path. It had only carried water without planting anything. And in that shared silence, between admiration and introspection, both buckets understood something profound. Each one had its purpose, but only the one who embraced its fragility could touch the heart of the world without even intending to. Days passed, and with them the seasons. The flowers watered by the broken bucket grew tall and strong, and their color lit up the path Haru walked every morning. The villagers began to notice the beauty of this floral path, and some even changed their daily route just to walk along it, in silence, as if this brief stretch offered a pause from the bustle of the world. A girl from the village, named Aiko, used to stop there every afternoon to pick flowers. One day, she approached Haru while he rested under a cherry tree. "Grandfather Haru," she asked with curious eyes, "why does this path have so many flowers and the other one doesn't?" Haru smiled at her, gently caressing the worn wood of the broken bucket. "Because beauty, little Aiko, sometimes arises from what we think is useless," he replied. "This bucket has cracks, yes, but because of them, life finds its way." Aiko looked at the bucket with new eyes, and without saying anything, she embraced it with tenderness. From that day on, no one ever called that bucket broken again. Now, they called it the one that makes the path bloom. Over time, the broken bucket became a kind of legend in the village. The elders would tell its story to the children, not as a cautionary tale, but as a lesson on the beauty of imperfection. Many began to see their own flaws with more compassion, remembering that even cracks could serve a purpose. The young monk from the nearby temple, upon hearing the story, took one of those flowers to the Buddha's altar and wrote on a tablet, "Not all blessings come in full vessels. Some filter gently and transform the world, drop by drop." Meanwhile, Haru continued to walk every morning toward the river, with his 2 buckets on his shoulder. One shiny and whole, the other old and worn, but now filled with a new kind of value. The value of one who, without seeking it, had given meaning to an entire path. The bucket, although still losing water, no longer felt that it was losing anything. On the contrary, it felt that it was giving. And with each step, the silence between it and Haru was filled with understanding. One morning, the sky woke up covered by a thick fog. The birds' songs seemed more distant, and the river flowed in silence. Haru, as always, took his bamboo staff and set off on the same path. But this time he walked more slowly. His steps were shorter, his breathing more measured. The broken bucket, noticing the fragility in the movements of his old friend, asked softly, "Are you all right, Haru?" The old man smiled, although his gaze was distant. "Yes, my friend," he replied. "I just feel that soon it will be time to leave this body behind, like a leaf falling in autumn." The bucket fell silent, moved. It had never thought of a life without Haru, without his constant steps, without his warmth, without that shared purpose that had united them for so many years. "When I am no longer here," Haru continued, "someone else will take this path. Perhaps they won't carry buckets. Maybe they won't even see the flowers. But the path you created will still be there, blooming for those who are willing to look." The wind blew gently, as if the mountain itself whispered in acceptance. Days later, the village woke up to the news that Haru had passed away during the night, peacefully, like a flame that quietly fades when it has already illuminated enough. The villagers gathered in his garden, surrounded by flowers, remembering the kindness of that simple man who walked every morning with 2 buckets. In the center of the altar, next to an aged photo of Haru, rested the broken bucket, not filled with water, but with fresh flowers. Aiko, now a little older, was the one who spoke. "Haru taught us that even what seems useless has a place in the dance of life. This bucket, which many wanted to discard, gave us flowers, peace, and a lesson we will never forget." From that day on, the broken bucket no longer returned to the river. It was placed in the temple as a symbol of wisdom and humility. The travelers who came to the village looked at it with curiosity, and upon hearing its story, they left with a strange feeling, as if something inside them had softened. Because we all carry cracks, and we all, in some way, are making someone else's path bloom. Over the years, the path Haru used to walk became a sacred road. Not because it was made of special stones or led to a temple, but because of the way it bloomed. It was as if every step taken there reminded those who passed by that life doesn't need to be perfect to be valuable. The monks taught the children that cracks are not mistakes, but doors through which the soul can breathe. The elders sat beside the broken bucket, in silence, finding comfort in its story, and travelers would stop there, leaving small notes with words of gratitude among the flowers. One of those notes read, "Thank you, broken bucket, for showing me that I don't have to fill myself up to be enough. I just have to let life flow through me." And so, without seeking recognition, without changing its shape or hiding its cracks, the broken bucket found its eternal purpose: to remind the world that what is truly valuable is not always seen, but felt. Man in lotus position, the END, may your path also bloom, drop by drop, blossom,